Well, hello, webinar friends. Happy Monday. Hope everyone had great weekends and hope your Monday is off to a really, non-Monday kind of start. It's kind of nice to start the week off as if it was like Tuesday. But welcome to yet another incredible personal SEO consultation session.
Monday kind of start. It's kind of
Oop, we had some double audio. That's okay. These our SEO consultations have been really fabulous, and it's amazing to see some new faces joining us today. I'm Diana Richardson. I'm the social media and community manager for the SEO division here at SEMrush. And today, joining me in the webinar room, we have 4 really curious marketers and website owners here to learn and here to grow. But also joining me in the webinar room is our special guest. He is the king of food blogging SEO. He just Google that and you'll see all of the impressive content that he's created on this topic. I did that myself. He has incredible brain capacity to keep up to date with those Google patent filings and the all-important algorithm updates that we all love and cherish. I'm really excited to get to know him a little bit better myself. So please welcome Casey Markee. Hi, Casey.
Diana, thanks for having me. Ladies, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy Monday morning. I can tell you that I have my kids currently engrossed in their online learning right now, as I know a lot of people do. I have a junior and a senior. They're just delights. So I know that the rest of you know exactly what that's like. But I'm excited to be here today. We're going to be covering a lot. And most importantly, I want everyone on the call as they're popping in here, give a round of applause to our 4 participants. It is never easy to kind of lay yourself out there. It's on full display on your sites, and I applaud each of them for doing that today. So thank you both very much, all of you.
Great point, and I think that's what makes these sessions so fascinating too, is because you are kind of that vulnerable. We've all been there as SEOs and website owners. Like we've all encountered these things. So it's really great for it to come forward and for all of us to learn and know that we're not alone on issues that we encounter on the World Wide Web. So also joining us, as like Casey was just saying, is our marketers and our website owners. So we want to get to know them a little bit better too. So Amy, why don't you start us off and tell us a few things about yourself and your website?
Yeah, my name's Amy, and my website is called Little Dairy on the Prairie. And my family really does own a farm, and we live on it, and it's our life. And I have been blogging for about 8 years, and I started as a hobby, and it's primarily a food blog mixed in with a little bit of farming. And I eventually started to see that it could be something that it could be monetized. And so I started paying a little bit more attention to that, but I have a lot to learn. So I'm here to learn how to continue to monetize and kind of step up my game.
That's really fascinating. I do feel like farming and food really do go hand in hand. I mean, at the core of food, right?
Yes.
That's where it comes from.
That's
so
what
that
we
makes
do
total
is produce food. Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, Christy, you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and your website?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Chrissy. I blog over at snackingandSneakers.com. So I am a registered dietitian and USAT Level 1 triathlon coach and RRCA running coach. So I kind of combine healthy recipes, training tips, and sports nutrition, specifically kind of geared towards active women, especially runners and triathletes.
Ooh, Christy, we have some.
I know, it's crazy. I don't understand.
To do after this.
My wife just recently completed a half marathon in Yosemite, and I was like, I don't even like to ride or drive 13.1 miles. So it just totally blows me away, Chrissy, that you would intentionally do things like a triathlon. So I applaud you. You have my utmost respect. It's crazy.
Thank you, and kudos to your wife. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I haven't quite built up to that level yet, but I'm a runner too. But I'm not that level quite yet. But I'm also like really going on this like healthy nutrition kind of fueling my body for running kick right now. So we've got some talking to do, Christy. Okay, Lindsay, how about you? Who are you? What's your site all about?
Yeah, hey everyone. My name is Lindsay. I write at My Therapist Cooks. I live in South Carolina. I'm with Casey. I don't run unless I'm being chased.
Exactly.
But there's just two camps of people in the world. It's okay. My big girl job is I'm a maternal mental health therapist, and I've been blogging since I was in grad school. It was sort of a side project. I've loved to cook forever. And so as the years have kind of gone by, my blog's about 10 years old. I've realized there's probably a lot of cleanup that can happen for these old websites. And I've been focusing really in the pandemic last year or so on making the blog just work a little bit better for me and be a business as well as a hobby.
Very cool. I feel like cooking in and of itself kind of came to the forefront during the pandemic and things like that. So it's actually really nice that you kind of had good timing a decade ago, starting blogging before it was this thing, before cooking was such a big hot topic. So you have that authority already there established.
Yeah.
All right. And Dia, you're up. Tell us about yourself.
Well, hello everyone. My name is Dea, and I'm actually based in a very small country in Europe. It's called Slovenia. Even people from Europe don't know where it is usually, so it's really small. But my blog is Pretty Sweet Blog, and it's all about desserts because that's been my number one passion since I think middle school, and I've been blogging for 5 years. But my day job is actually I'm a tennis trainer. So.
Oh my gosh! So okay, also talking to you later too, all about desserts. Desserts are the reason I have to run.
Yeah, exactly. You gotta keep a balance,
All right. Well, this is going to already be a really awesome conversation. I cannot wait to get into the nitty gritty of all of your blogs and your stories and hear what Casey has to say. So this is how it's going to work today. So each marketer is going to get about 12 minutes with Casey. We're going to go a bit over because usually we're like a 1 hour session, but we're going to go a little bit more than that so we can cover a little bit more of that detail. Casey's done a lot of really great homework for you guys too. So it's going to be really, really valuable. For those of you watching, we want to hear your questions. So keep those coming in the live chat. If we have time at the end, we can ask some of those questions live while Casey is here with us. Otherwise, he is going to circle back later and answer the questions. So you'll get an answer either way. So don't hold back on your questions. So thank you, Casey, for doing that.
Yeah, just to talk a little bit about that, make sure that if you're on YouTube, add the question as a comment. Add the question as a comment. I can go in and reply right there. That's the best way to do it. Add a question as a comment. I'll circle back around, and if we're unable to answer it live, I'll go in and I'll reply directly to your comment on YouTube, because I know that question will probably be helpful to a lot of others as well. So thank you for that.
Great tip too, because we were talking about the live chat doesn't always sometimes come in after the airing, and so comments will always be there. So great way to keep that conversation happening. For the marketers here in the webinar room, I'm going to be the timekeeper. And so just kind of keep your eye on me as we're going through. I'll give you lots of fun hand gestures. You could guys already tell I talk with my hands. That's my theater background. But it helps when it's trying to signal you have 2 minutes left. So just keep an eye on me. And then if we get a little crazy, I will have to interrupt. So forgive me if I have to interrupt you, but we do want to make sure we make the rounds today. All right, with that, let's go ahead and get started. And we are going to kick off with Amy.
Yeah. Fantastic. Amy, I want to thank you so much. Amy's site is Little Dairy on the Prairie. Is that correct? Because I misspelled it and I put it down wrong twice. I put little Prairie on the Dairy. It was very funny. It was I kept doing that all weekend. So before we get into your site, a couple things, very general, some housekeeping thing for everyone on the call. There was a noticeable Google update this weekend, and this noticeable Google update went out late Saturday night. Looks like it's pushed through most of Sunday. This is an unannounced update. As with most updates from Google, they don't tell you anything that's going on, but I know a lot of bloggers reached out to me about it. For those of you on the call listening, or even for our panelists here, you want to go ahead and take all of your traffic from Sunday and start comparing it to the previous Sunday. That's a very simplistic way for you to see changes and patterns right there, since we have about a full day for you to work with. Now, with most of these updates, Google pushes out thousands of these a year. Some of them help you, some of them hurt you. There's nothing we can do about it. Anyone who would come out and say, hey, it's Monday, I already know what this update targets, has no idea what they're talking about. So we'll wait a couple days. Hopefully we'll have some more data, see what's going on. But I know that was a big topic of discussion. So just kind of give you an FYI on that. Now, with regards to SEO in general, for both of our panelists and everyone on the call, think of your site as a chair. Chair with 3 legs. Leg number 1 is the technical issues. Leg number 1 is the content issues. Leg number 3 might be the offsite factors that go into your success as a blogger. Leg number 3 might be things like your backlink profile, how many unique linking root domains we have, the experience or the authoritativeness of you as a blogger, where you've been cited externally, could be the size of your email list. We're not going to really get into a lot of the backlink stuff today. We just don't have the time, other than me running a comparison, a competitive comparison between everyone on the call, and I'm going to show you that today. But we are going to get into a lot of the technical leg 1 and the content leg 2 issues today. And you're going to find that there's a lot of shared issues on this site, and we're going to go over that. Now, what I've done here, and we're going to go ahead and get into the screen sharing here. We're going to start again with Little Dairy on the Prairie. So just let me know when you can see my screen here. I'm going to go here. And we're going to go over to the window here. And all you should be able to see, and you can just let me know if that is the case on your end, Diana, you should just be able to see a login here. Is that correct?
Yep, we can see it. Looks great.
Okay, great. Now I'm switching back over. Whoops, I'm in the wrong one here. Let me see here. Where am I? Oh, that's hilarious. So this is a great time. Remember, we were talking about how we couldn't access the Firefox? Yeah, this is all Firefox here. So we're just going to go close all of these down. And we're actually going to go ahead and open up. We're going to go to bookmarks, and we're going to open up Little Dairy on the Prairie right here. We're going to open up all these tabs.
Well, that worked out.
So it worked out just fine. So, Amy, this is your site here. This is an example of a Google Drive folder that I've set up for you. One of the things that I want you to kind of see on this site here, this is we're going to go over all these documents today, is the very first thing I want you to show you. This is a competitor comparison, and I hope everyone can kind of see this on the site. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger here. Let me see if I can actually do that down here. I'm going to hide this, and I'm going to go here. And this is just a competitive comparison of how you stack up, Amy, with everyone else that we link to today. Do you see how overall, when we look at the unique linking root domains, you're actually the top site here? Do you see that?
Yeah.
These are 1,600 linking root domains, pretty sweet blog, which we're going to talk about. She's the relatively smallest here, and then we've got My Therapist Cooks over here and Snacking with Sneakers. Now, linking domains are still a very big part of the Google ranking algorithm. This is a strong number. Usually, the average site that I audit has around 1,100 linking root domains. So this is good, and it's very important to have a strong backlink profile, because sometimes that can act as spackle. It can cover up mistakes that you're making on the content or the technical side. So first thing I wanted you to take a look at is when we go to your site here, we can go ahead and use a plugin here called SEO Quake, and I can very quickly see what your page title and description is. You see this right here? That's your page title, and that's your description.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we don't need to rank for Little Dairy on the Prairie, and we certainly don't need to rank for My Perfectly Stinky Life. What we should be doing is having your title right here reflect your H1, which is right here. Do you see that?
Yeah.
That should be your title. This should be your title right here. So we should want to take this right there, and basically very quickly, this is, if we do absolutely nothing else but make this change, traffic will most likely go up on your site, because we want to make sure that we have more content to your homepage at all possible. So what we're going to do here is we're just going to go ahead and give you a competent homepage title. Do you see that? And then we just go ahead and type in Little Dairy on the Prairie. I can't spell, terrible speller, bear with me. So just like that, now we can get actual long tail consideration for this content here with Google, right there. We're going to click Save Changes, and so we've immediately improved your homepage just by doing this. I'm going to go ahead and click Refresh on this. And now we've got our homepage title and our on-page H1 actually match. That's very important. Now, one of the biggest technical issues I found on your site was an incorrect use of drop-down menus. You see these right here?
Yeah.
These actually add a lot of what are called DOM nodes to your site. A DOM node is a little piece of code that basically is used to make an HTML element. And if we were to run, for example, a report, a page speed report, on one of your recipes, we would find that you're having an excessive amount of DOM nodes. I'm going to go ahead and pop one of these up here and run it here on the site. Give me just a moment here. We're going to run this. And hopefully, I can't really see the screen, but hopefully you can all see that there's a page speed report running.
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay, fantastic. So we're going to let this run for a minute. Now, in your case here, don't worry about the score too much, the 67 out of 100. What I really want you to see down here is this. Do you see where it says an excessive DOM node?
Yeah.
Okay, this is site-wide for you. And the problem is that this is actually a small amount. If we were to go back here to the audit profile, to what I've run for you, I've got a whole report here which shows you excessive DOM nodes. And the problem is that your designer just doesn't realize that this was an issue when she set up your site. That's why we don't use drop-down menus. Look at your sweet freezer corn. You see how it has 5,100 DOM nodes?
Yeah.
Okay, this is a problem. This is a site-wide issue, and it's causing a lot of issues with your page speed. When you get to more than 1,500 DOM nodes, you get a warning from Google. You see right there, have more than 1,500 DOM nodes?
Yeah.
We need to lower this, and the best way to lower this is to remove these drop-down menus on your site. You don't need them. You're never going to miss them. And what happens is when you get over 1,500 DOM nodes on a page, Google struggles to algorithmically crawl the entire page. And as I think many of you know on the call, if Google cannot algorithmically crawl the entire page, they cannot score all that content. So that is a big reason right there that your page speeds are not that competitive. Do you see how you've got the largest contentful pane here at 6.7? First contentful pane's only about a 2.5. Well, there's a lot of stuff going on here, and we won't spend a lot of time on this, but I can literally guarantee you that if we remove these, we're going to correct a lot of your issues by lowering your DOM nodes. So that'll make the pages faster for Google site-wide. So that's the first thing, is we want to get rid of those. Now, staying on the topic of your page speed, if I go into WP Rocket here, it looks like you have not set up WP Rocket specifically. Doesn't look like it's been fully set up. You haven't combined your CSS files, your JavaScript files, and you haven't delayed your JavaScript execution down here. It looks like you have lazy loaded your images here, but here's an issue. You're signed up with Media Wyse, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so Media Wyse does not recommend that you ever enable this for iframes and videos. This can interfere with your ads, so we're going to turn that off right away. That should never be done right there. And I'm going to go ahead and click Save Changes on this. Now, once you set up WP Rocket fully, there's a lot we can do to set up WP Rocket for you. We don't have the time to do that today, but I want you to take a look at this WP Rocket. It's from Feast Design, where they'll tell you Feast Design, WP Rocket settings. Let's find that. SEO for bloggers here. And we're going to go ahead and scroll down to WP Rocket here. And I want you to just make a note of this today when you can. This is a fantastic way. You're just going to go to WP Rocket, SEO for bloggers here, and go ahead and get that set up. If you just follow the guidelines here, you can be surprised at how much you can do, or we can just do it privately after this call and set this up. But that will help you considerably. And this is, again, why we're getting, in what amounts to, honestly, not very competitive scores here. And this is also, again, why you're failing your page experience or your core web vitals. You see how you have 0% good URLs here?
Mm-hmm.
And then if we go down here, here's the 571 URLs you're failing. A lot of this is because of CLS, cumulative layout shift. You haven't started that here. It's 571. Cumulative layout shift can be improved by just, again, kind of doing a lot of things. And that's setting up WP Rocket is the number one thing that we want to do there specifically. So just an FYI on that. We can talk about that in a little bit more detail after. So that's the excessive DOM nodes. That's the first technical issue we want to talk about. The next technical issue that we want to talk about on your site is your excessive amount of broken links. I've installed a broken link checker here. You can see it under here. You see where it says broken links, 256? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, this runs the gamut. In many cases, the vast majority of broken links, and that doesn't matter whether it's you, Amy, or one of the other three bloggers on the call today, they're going to be comment related. You see how you have all these comment links here?
Yeah.
For example, we can go up here and go to search, and we can actually go to link text comment, and we can actually say, what's the what is the code here? Well, let's just go with maybe server not found. We'll go with the status, the link status. I'll actually go with broken, and we'll just go search links. And there is a significant amount of comments here that are broken on your site. You see how they're missing the end result? They're missing the TLD.
Yeah.
Now, this is actually the good news about a lot of these links is they're easy to fix. And let me just show you very quickly. We would just go over here and we would choose all of them over the left-hand column. And then under bulk actions here, we would click unlink. Do you see that?
Mm-hmm.
And when we click unlink and we apply this, we can actually remove a lot of these broken links from the site. And you're just going to slowly go through here and do that for the majority of these links on your site. Now, if there's anything in here that's a little slow here, can you remind me again, Amy, who you're hosting with?
Yeah, I just barely switched because I was going to mention too that I am switching my blog. I have to rebrand. And so I'm in the middle of a redesign right now.
Gotcha.
Of that. Yeah, so I'm with Big Scoots. I just switched.
Okay, good, good. Big Scoots is usually good. They can help you with this, but we have a substantial amount of broken links on your site. And so what we're going to do here is, like I said, we can go in here and you're going to slowly go in and fix as many of these links as you can. It looks like you have a lot of external links that are broken. You see these where you've linked externally by means of link parties or pingbacks. So we want to remove all of those whenever we can. In many cases, you're just going to unlink those. So you would go over here to the recipe critic, you would click unlink, and that link will turn green and disappear. Do you see that? So that's how this works, is you have a lot of broken links. Now I've ran an actual technical audit for you, which has even more broken links on your site to kind of go through and correct. And it's just a matter of slowly going through and removing this content from your site. The link in red here is broken, and the link in blue is the link on your site where the broken link is. And it's just a matter of going in and fixing these things. And some people, they hire VAs to help them with this. And if that's something that you want to consider, I could certainly, provide you some referrals on that. Now, let's go ahead and talk about another issue on your site, which is internal redirects.
Actually, Casey, we're out of time for Amy's site.
Oh, we are.
We
have
to move on so we can get to everybody. But I think all of us learned at least one new vocabulary word during that session. DOM nodes. I've been in SEO for a very long time myself too. I've never heard that term before. So thank you, Casey.
So yeah. And what we're going to do, Amy, is we're just going to, why don't when you get a chance, is I'll review all this with you.
Okay.
In the follow-up, but there's a lot that we weren't able to get to, and I apologize. I wish we had more time. Like, for example, you see, and this is a common issue with everyone, you see how when I click on your image, they open up in a new photo, a new page?
Yeah.
This takes up some of your link equity, and it's not great for users. So we don't want to do that. So we're going to go ahead and kind of get all that stuff fixed. So let me go ahead and stop the screen sharing here. I'm going to go back. Let's see here. Stop sharing and just let me know if I'm back. See everything okay?
You're back. Yeah, you're
Okay.
good. We can see you nice and sharp. All right, so we're going to move on to Lindsay's site. And then, Casey, I guess since we didn't have the issue before, you're ready to go with the screen share there? Or do you need me to keep the conversation going?
No, we're ready to go with that. I just apologize that we weren't able, and I apologize for talking too long, Amy, because I do have a lot of stuff run for you. So we'll review that when we can. So the next site we're going to talk about is Lindsay's site. And Lindsay, we're going to focus a lot today on your content. One of the things that stood out on your site was just the incredible amount of content you had. The average site usually would have anywhere from 200 to 500, pieces of content. And in your case, you had an incredible amount. You had something like 2,100 blog posts, and it's just unnatural. And the reason that that's hurting you is that you've literally flooded Google with a lot of low quality, thin, and expired content. Please don't take that personally. It's fine. There's just content that you are just not going to keep on your site, and it's strangling your resources. You only have so many resources as a site, and instead you flooded Google with all this quality, this content over the years that no one is visiting. So what we're going to do here is I'm just making sure that everything here is set up for you. It does look like it is. Okay, good. So let's go ahead and do a screen sharing on that. I'm going to go ahead and do a share screen, and we're going to go to the My Therapist Cooks. And just let me know, Diana, again, you should be able to see the screen.
Yep.
Great.
Good
Okay.
shared.
All right. So the very first thing that we're going to talk about today with you, Lindsay, specifically is just the content. This is a traffic overview of your entire site. Can you see that okay?
Yeah.
You see? Okay. So this is a breakdown of all the content. Look at that. 3,200 pages on your site have generated no traffic from Google in the last 120 days. And you're thinking, Casey, I don't have 3,200 pages. What this is this is a lot of your blog content. This is category pages. These are tag pages that have been left open. This is content that Google's crawling on a regular basis, but is generating no traffic for you. In fact, look at this. This is the amount, this is where the majority of your content is coming from in Google in the last 120 days. So you've got 2,100 plus blog posts on your site. And of those blog posts, you can do the math here. You can see that less than 120 of them are actually sending most of your content. And we have to ask ourselves, why is this happening? Well, a lot of it has to do with the fact that there is just a lot of content here that is expired or that is low quality or which Google has just decided, we're not going to do much with. This is an export of all the content from your Google Search Console over the last 120 days. I've organized it by impression. So you can see here the Japanese chicken skewers at the top. This is Google saying, hey, we gave you 1,200 impressions, but because you're so far back, you're on page 4 here, we didn't garner any clicks. Do you see that?
Mm-hmm.
And so the goal would be to start slowly from the top to the bottom here. And this is the kind of content we would obviously look at maybe republishing with higher signals. And we'll get into a template to use in just a minute. But I want you to see the precipitous drop. Look at the drop here. You see that? Look at how now you're at less than 100 impressions. And look at how we get down here and it keeps going. Look at all these down here that do not even have any impressions from Google. I'm going to keep going here. Look at this. See the zeros?
Mm-hmm.
Look at all this stuff here. This is a baby and preschool books for quarantine. This is a 2016 how we photo dump. This is all personal content. Here's the thing. It's okay to have this personal content, but you should not be leaving it open to Google because it's not accumulating any positive metrics for you. If you want to keep this kind of content, index it on your site. You see all this content here that's of a personal nature?
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of it. And even these 5 for Fridays, this is Google saying, I get it. These are great. I'm glad you have them on their site, but absolutely none of them are these are all basically ranked outside the top 100. And
so I have a question on this. Can I interrupt?
Yeah, please.
So yes. So I know this, and I've sort of made a decision to continue with the sort of journal style, just because doing some vote, like readers voting kinds of things.
Right.
And so I've heard you say before, no index. And a question I've asked a few people but haven't gotten an answer is there a plugin way that you know of to bulk no index things? Because what I've been doing is going back and auditing and doing it one by one, which over 10 years of content is a bear of a job.
Exactly, it is. And unfortunately, there is not.
Okay.
So in your case, the good news is you have this document now, which you will have after we're done. And you will go in and you will literally start no indexing. And I'll be honest with you, you're not just going to no index. There's a lot of stuff on here to delete.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that. Here's an example of one of your lesser recipes that again, they're old, no judgments. You published this in 2012. This has no process shots. This has no recipe card. This has nothing. Yeah. It's not going to do anything for you. This is the kind of content that you really have to make a decision. Unless you're going to literally reshoot this entire post, you delete it. Yeah. You delete it and move on. And you have a lot of content like this. Mm-hmm. This is low quality content. It's not going to do anything for you. One of the most important things is again, if you think you're going to get to it, fantastic. You're going to gut the whole post. You keep the URL and you just put up a new recipe. But in most cases, this is the kind of content you should probably just delete and move on. Because in your case, there's so much of it on your site. Mm-hmm. Now, here's another example. This is the 5 for Friday. This is the baby edition we were just talking about. In this case, you're just going to no index it. We don't want to lose the photos. It's great. We want to keep the photos. We want to do all this stuff. But this isn't going to do anything with you for Google. Nothing. You're not going to rank for this. It doesn't add anything to your expertise. All it does is take up resources when Google crawls and revisits this every now and then. Mm-hmm. So in this case, no index. And I know you know how to no index because I can see here if we go to all posts and I go to post no indexed here, I can see that you've actually no indexed several of these, and it looks like you're up to 41 right now. You see all those? That's fine. And you're just going to go through a no index. But then you have content here that is completely expired. Do you know that this salt at Station 22, that restaurant doesn't even exist anymore?
I did. I had heard that.
This restaurant went out of business, Lindsay, in 2016. So this is great that you celebrated your anniversary here, but this is the kind of content, honestly, that unless you really want these photos, you just delete this.
Okay.
Okay. And you've got a lot of that. And so that's what you're going to do is you're going to use this report here, and you're going to start bucketing the content. Bucket number one is content that I know I'm going to keep. Maybe I can update it today, tomorrow, next week. For example, easy corn pudding. I can have easy corn pudding today, tomorrow, next week. There's no seasonality there. Okay. We can update that tomorrow, next week. Bucket number two is content that's of a seasonal nature. Do you see that? That's bourbon apple cider spritzer. It's not going to do well for you. That's a fall recipe. So you're not going to touch this until September, but you must touch it. You literally are going to gut the whole thing and rewrite it. So let's talk about how you would approach that. This is an example of one of your recent recipes. This is the easy olive oil banana bread. It's great. First of all, you've got a lot of accessibility errors because I can't read any of this content up here. Do you see this right here? We have to darken this up. We have to darken all this up. And you can do that by playing around with the font, kind of the basic font within your site. Now, I think you have the Faqs plugin. Is that right?
Yeah, and I have it set to change the font to whatever your system says it should be.
Gotcha. Okay. So in this case here, again, I think you have to go in and you're just going to have to darken this up considerably. That will help. One of the things that you can do on your site to kind of give you an idea of how you're doing with web accessibility is here is just a simple report that you can use. You would take this, you would go over, you'd pop it in the web accessibility audit. You go ahead and click return, and it'll show you all the color contrast errors that are on the page. You can see here, you have 163. Do you see all those? The choice of font here is not dark enough. So if you want to keep this orange, you're going to have to go in and you're going to have to darken it up considerably. See how you're getting warnings here? And this is for people who have visual disabilities on your site. This is a problem for them when they're accessing your site with a screen reader where they're actually just using a regular audit. A lot of this stuff can be fixed in minutes. It's just a matter of you going in and darkening up your color a little bit. All right. Now, continuing back over here to this recipe here, you have correctly, again, you're using the jump button, and I appreciate the fact that you've turned on the arrival unit. We didn't get to this, Amy, on your site, but I strongly urge you to turn off what's called the Media Wyse arrival unit. They take over your jump button and jump you to an ad. That's a WCAG accessibility violation. So you shouldn't be doing. So anyone on the call who's with Media Wyse, they've taken over your jump buttons to jump you to an ad. I get it. They want you to make some more money, but it's a WCAG accessibility violation. You shouldn't be doing it. Now, with regards to this banana bread here, you did a good job here with the teaser text, 100% go to. Then we look at your image here. And one of the things we want to do with all of your images is every image that you load in should be a maximum of 1200 pixels wide. You've actually gone a little overboard and done 1500 pixels. This is fine, but you don't necessarily need to go that high. You could just go 1200 pixels and be fine. And that'll also lower the image size a little bit, and you'll load a little bit faster as well. But I did want you to see this information here. Do you see all this unnecessary aperture, credit, camera, Canon stuff, shutter speed? That is a completely unnecessary image metadata. So I don't know if you read somewhere that you should have that. You absolutely should not. Google doesn't use anything. The only thing that they use for image metadata would be something like a copyright notice or an author name. But you absolutely do not need aperture, credit, camera, the type of credit, the shutter speed, orientation, all of that. All this does is cause the photos to load slower. Because
that's not something I knew was happening. Would that be, do you think, a setting in Lightroom?
Most likely a setting in Lightroom, yes.
Okay.
So you'd want to look at that, investigate how that's happening. I know there was an interview recently with an SEO who said, yeah, you need all this. Completely incorrect. There's never been a statement from Google that you need any of this nonsense. And a lot of this is probably happening by accident, and that's fine. Now, you said here Hawaiian style banana bread with olive oil. Okay, the problem is that's not a fantastic alt text. When we're talking about alt text, we need to visually describe what's in this photo for someone who cannot see it. So think that someone is blind and they're sitting next to you, Lindsay. You should be saying very simply 2 slices of banana bread on a white plate on a table with banana bread in the background. Mm-hmm. Something like that. You want to visually kind of communicate what's going on in the post. The rest of this, one of the things that you've done here is I like initially the photo here. Very, very good. Then you get down here to the method. One of the things I tend to, and it's flippant, but it's true, we always want to treat our users like toddlers and drunk adults. We want to number everything. Number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, number 6. Every one of these photos should be numbered so the user knows exactly what's happening. And then if you can put a little bracket here that says image number 1, image number 2, and the like. Go ahead and line everything up. That'll help you on the site. It looks like you're missing completely an FAQ or an expert tips section. Is there a reason for that? We always want to put FAQs and expert tips in a recipe post. Should have had a section over here. And then down here, I don't see any related recipes. I'd add that, preferably in the recipe card here. And then as we go down to the recipe card, the notes can be better. Ask yourself, if someone was just to print out your recipe card, would they have all the information they need to make this recipe perfectly? And that's something I want you to be aware of, okay? These notes are a little light.
On that, we're going to wrap up with Lindsay's site. That was really interesting. And before we move on, actually, Casey, I wanted to ask you a question, because you've been bringing up the accessibility issues on the site. So can you talk to us about how accessibility, the importance of it, and SEO, and now that we're getting into core web vitals and user experience on websites, like how does accessibility play into the overall performance of a website?
Well, Google has come out and said that accessibility is not a ranking factor, but there are accessibility elements that are, and that includes things like image alt text, mobile friendliness, things like that. As a matter of fact, whenever they talk about accessibility, they really only mention 2 things: alt text and mobile friendliness, is making sure that the site is as easy to visit on multiple platforms as possible. So accessibility is something that we want to really kind of optimize for, because it's been an underserved segment of the population for years. And that's why, again, if you look at some of the resources that we've published with the SEO for Publishers, or you've gone over and taken a look at some of the resources that Andrew Router with NerdPress has published, who I work closely with, there's a very first accessibility component that we want to make sure that we talk about. That's making sure that we use very visually descriptive alt text. Google counts between 12 and 16 words on the alt text. And sometimes we can use captions to add a little bit more information. So all of that is helpful for the user specifically as they go forward.
Yeah, it's such an interesting topic, and one that we don't really talk about a whole lot, as much as we talk about backlinks or things like that in the SEO industry. So I was just really fascinated by that part of the conversation. So cool, thank you. All right, we're going to go ahead and move on to Dea.
Okay, Dea, I'm just going to set up your windows really quickly here. Give me just a minute to do that. And we'll see what we can get here.
While Casey is doing that, ask your questions, guys. Don't forget to ask your questions in the live YouTube area, and make sure you're following Casey. We're going to ask Casey at the end how you can get in touch with him if you want more information. But he's very chatty and he's very great with this advice. So don't feel. I tried to say 7 words at once. Don't hesitate. Please feel free to include your questions so we can get to them if we have some time at the end. So this conversation's been really, really interesting today. So I can't wait to keep it going.
Okay. All righty.
All right.
All right.
So
Again, just as a reminder to Amy and Lindsay that we both covered here, wish I'd been able to get into all the things. So we'll trade some emails and make sure that we talk about some of the issues, like, for example, the notes I've made on each of your individual recipe templates, so we can get all that dialed in. So, and it's Dea, is that correct? Am I totally? Dea. Okay, I'm going to totally butcher that. I'm just going to call you D. I'm just going to call you D.
It's okay.
So D, we're going to go ahead and get started with you. We're going to go ahead and we're going to share the screen here, and we're going to pop this in. Window. Okay, how come that's not working? Oh. All right, let's try that. So we're going to scroll down
There we
here.
go.
And we're going to pop back up. So can you see that?
Yep, you're good.
Okay, Diana. So what we're going to do, Dea, with your site is that we have your biggest issue, as I mentioned this at the very beginning, is you just do not have a very strong backlink profile. If we go ahead and take a look at this specifically, this is your site right here. And this is your linking root domains. Do you see that right there? You only have 162 linking root domains. Mm-hmm. So what does that mean? Well, again, every site has to start somewhere, but that means that in your case, it's very important that we dial in a correct template, both with the content and with the technical issues. Now, the first thing I notice is that you're running a Feast theme here, but you haven't invested in the Feast plugin. Are you familiar with the Feast plugin?
Yeah, I know. I'm just not sure how much it would help me, you know.
Well, let me just tell you, it will help you considerably. I strongly recommend that you invest in the Feast plugin.
That was actually one of my questions to you, if I would benefit greatly from the plugin. So
it would definitely. Because if we get the Feast plugin installed, we can actually optimize your site a little bit more for speed. One of the things that's hurting you is this at the bottom. You see this Instagram widget that you have?
Yeah, yes.
No one is ever going to visit this. I know. I've removed it from literally hundreds of sites. So I
had it on the sidebar, but I removed it, and I was thinking about this one, if I should remove it or not. But I guess, yeah, of course.
And then we're going to go ahead and invest in something like the Feast plugin. If we were to go to a site, and this is an example of a blogger who also moved to Feast and has implemented most everything that you can implement. This is, again, a Feast theme. This is the modern homepage. Do you see the modern homepage where we have a nice on-page H1? We have different FSRI blocks where they pull over the category information. You see how there's plenty of content that Google can crawl and score. Do you see all that?
Yes.
And you look at the footer. Do you see how clean that footer is? Do you see how we have just simple links to the About Me page? All of this. This site performs extremely well. Do you see how Hilda has optimized her sidebar? She has seasonal content here that she can rotate as necessary. You see how she has a nice featured on graphic. Now, unfortunately, with your backlink profile, we can't do anything here, but you will eventually be able to do something like this. And what we want to do is, again, we just want to make sure that we set your site up so that it's as attractive as possible. We have the nice breadcrumbs at the top. We want to have, this is called SEO Post Information. You see that? We want to go ahead and link everything to your site name. We're going to link your site name to your About Me page, all of that stuff. And that hasn't been done on any of your recipes. If I go to your recipe, here's the Poppy Lemon Cheesecake bars. There's nothing up here. Do you see this? First of all, you had the same issue I talked about, I believe, with Lindsay, which is that you're going to be failing. Look at your wave report here. See here? I can't see because of the choice of your colors.
Okay.
We need to get a much darker color here, much darker color. So you're going to need to kind of move this up considerably so that we can actually see the content. And look, I can't even see the date on the page there. So all of this has to be fixed, and you've got a lot of this. So changing the color of your scheme is going to help you considerably. Right.
Okay.
And that's the first thing that I want you to kind of see. Now, with regards to your site here, you've over optimized considerably. And that's what we need to talk about here. And I want you to see this. If I go to SEO Quake and I go to diagnosis, I can actually go down here and take a look at all the headings on the page. You see all these headings?
Yes.
Right there?
Yeah.
Okay. Look. Poppy seed lemon cheesecake, poppy seed cheesecake, poppy seed cheesecake, poppy seed, poppy seed, poppy seed. You've over optimized considerably. And we can't do that. So poppy seed lemon cheesecake here, you see it's only 7% of the content, but you over optimize the headings. And this is for a couple people on the call who've done this. I strongly urge you to read the modern guidelines for page headings from Feast that we've helped put together. The number one is do not over optimize. Do not put your primary keyword in your H2. Now, this is in contrary to what Yoast will tell you to do. Yoast is one of the biggest issues that we have is that they'll tell you to put your primary keyword in every one of your heading, and that's where issues come into play. This is also why Google, we had a phantom update in November of 2019 which decimated a lot of food bloggers. And one of the things we found when we did an analysis is that anyone who was over 2% was getting killed with regards to their headings. And so we tend to want to say that top performing posts have a keyword density of around 1.5 and 1.7%. It's hilarious that we're talking about keyword density in 2021, but it is still very important. And so that's something that I want you to be aware of, is that I definitely don't want you to start putting in your focus keyword in every one of your headings here. All right.
Okay. Okay.
Now, one of the other things is I don't want you to list the ingredients here. Do you see how you listed all the ingredients there? That's just not a highest meets needs issue. Instead, I want you to start thinking of, like, for example, if we were to go back over here to Hilda's site and we were to take just a quick look at her recipes, you see how she has such a clear why this recipe works, what goes into this recipe. Do you see how she's actually shown you a labeled photo of the ingredients here? Isn't that much more useful to users than you just listing a full set of ingredients in the post? And that's what we need to get away with. No value to users of doing this. Now, on the positive, you did a pretty good job here, but these are a little bit small. You might want to move to actually using just side-by-side photos. You can see side-by-side photos, see how much bigger those are?
Okay, yeah.
Or you could do a collage. There's nothing wrong with using a collage. If we were to go to this example site here and we were to scroll down, in this case, look at Nora where she's got step-by-step photos. You see this? That's more highest meets needs. And when we're talking about putting recipe posts together, that's what we want to look at. Always number everything, toddlers and drunk adults. You've heard me talk about that. But we want to make sure that we get all that filled in. So I would do that. This is really hard to read on mobile. You see this? Yeah, very hard to read on mobile, especially. So these are very small. So I would really redo this, make it easier for users to read. You did a good job with your tips and notes here. Nothing wrong with that. And then you have this. Did you actually use FAQ schema here?
Yeah, I think I did.
You did. Good job. So you've got FAQ schema here. That looks good. This is so that Google actually knows, hey, these are FAQs. We don't want to just have these.
Do I not include the cheesecake part in the FAQs, like the questions that I put?
I think these are fine.
So keyword wise, it's okay.
But I would have said here, I would have just said recipe FAQs.
Okay.
I would have just said recipe FAQs right here. I wouldn't have said poppy seed cheesecake crumble bar FAQ. No value. You did that for search engines. You didn't do that for users. We've got a call to action down here. We've got a recipe card. It's great that you're using WP Recipe Maker, but you can make optimizations. We can hide our keywords. We can turn these into a checkable shopping list. Good job on the notes here. Go in and turn this off. You don't need this.
Okay.
And also, you see how you showing all of your tags here?
Yeah.
Okay, these tags are never going to generate traffic for you at all. So we don't want to link to them internally. And if I was going to go to your sitemap right here, you don't have your tags indexed. You see that?
Yeah, I know, but I didn't know how to actually turn that off.
Right, and that's what the Feast plugin is for. The Feast plugin will allow you to do all this.
Okay.
But just for everyone on the call, when we no index something like tags, we never link to them internally like she's done, because we're sending the page rank on this page down a black hole. It won't help you. So we remove all of this. So we don't want to have these tag pages showing site-wide. So removing that will immediately allow us to recover a lot of link equity, and it'll flow back to the recipes. Now, with regards to your sidebar here, it's not bad. You've got an in-season section, but I would have another section of recipes here, and I would have it be your most popular content. Okay. Now, moving to some technical issues. This is an example of your site at the server. You're hosting with a Slovakian host, right?
Company. Yeah.
Okay.
And I never knew how good it was or wasn't. So.
Well, it's not good at all. And I really do want you to switch. You see how you have a chain redirect here?
Yeah.
There's one server hop. There's another server hop. This is what it should look like at the server. See mine where I just have one server hop?
Yeah.
And you have two.
Why is that happening?
Because you have a poor host, and your host set up your redirects when they moved to HTTPS. They just didn't set it up correctly. Okay. So if you can afford it, I want you to move to Big Scoots. Okay. Big Scoots right here. The managed hosting is very nice. All you have to do is they'll migrate you for free. and just tell them that you have a chain redirect, and they'll remove it off your site. If you can afford $35 a month, this is the best managed WordPress hosting out there. Okay.
Okay.
And you'll be able to keep this long term. You won't have to worry about making any changes until you get up to about 600,000 sessions a month. All right. So you're a little ways away from that, but this is great. I highly recommend that you make the move. They'll migrate you for free, and they will migrate you in many cases in less than an hour. They're that fast.
Okay.
Okay. They're that good. So this is going to help you considerably, especially kind of as if your goal is to build traffic. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Because all this time, I think I'm just like missing something really important to not grow my traffic.
You do have a lot of broken links. You want to fix those. As I said, I've run a full report for you. I mentioned the internal redirects here. Let's talk about this. I'm not sure I was able to talk about this previously with other bloggers, but whenever you change a URL internally, you see all this where you previously had EN, English.
Yeah.
And look, you changed it to here, right? See that?
Yeah, because I deleted the plugin.
But you didn't update this post. So if we were to go into this post here, the link is still this and not this. The reason that this is bad is that this also dilutes the flow of page rank through your site. And this is for everyone on the call. Everyone on the call had internal redirects. This is uploaded into your file right here. These internal redirects, again, dilute the flow of page rank through your site. And the fastest ways to fix this, go to the blog fixer right here. And I highly recommend working with Chris. One of his fixes is the internal permalink redirect fix. See this?
Yeah.
And he'll update all the old links on your site to the new link so that he can remove those redirects. But this is a very common issue that I found on all 4 sites today. We want to update all of these links to their current destination right here. And we do that by either physically going in and doing them yourself, or you're going to buy a plugin fix. Okay?
Okay.
All right. So coming back over here to the folder here, I also want you to see
we
here
are out of time.
not a problem. See here as well that you're missing all these meta descriptions.
Yeah, I haven't updated the.
Okay, so all this stuff is here for you. So we're just going to go in here and make sure that we update and republish a lot of this content. Okay, we didn't talk about the content. You had the same issue as the Lindsay site. You see right there, a lot of content that Google's not visiting. All right, so let me go ahead and stop the screen sharing here. And how are we doing on time?
We're doing great on time. So I want to get to Chrissy's site because we're actually getting some really interesting questions coming into the chat too. And I think after we go through Chrissy's 12 minutes, we're going to have a few minutes to cover some of those questions from the live chat here in the webinar, which I think will be really helpful. So I will hand it over to the 2 C's, Chrissy and Casey.
Okay, Chrissy, thank you so much for volunteering your site. Like I said, I have the utmost respect for anyone who would voluntarily do a swim, cycle, and run. My wife and my son have gotten on a cycling kick, biking kick. So they have very expensive bikes, like the huge expensive e-bikes that they've been taking out and biking all over the place. But not for me. I don't think I'm going to stick with the SUV and go from there. So what we're going to do here is we're going to do the same thing. We're just going to go ahead and start the screen sharing. I've got all of your windows up. We're going to go ahead and go to share screen here. And let's see here, make sure that I've got it entire screen. Okay. I'm going to pop this down and go right here. So just a reminder, Diana just confirmed that you can see my screen here. We have the snacking with sneakers. We have the so I've set up the same thing as I did the rest of the bloggers here. Just as a competitive comparison here, you can see, I'm going to hide this. You had one of the stronger sites today. You can see that you have about 1,200 link and root domains. You and Little Dairy on the Prairie, very nice. You've got a Moz domain authority of 47. This is more for novelty purposes. Google doesn't really use this, but it's a good way to compare yourself to other sites. But you have a lot of built-in link equity. Now, one of the things I noticed immediately with your site is that you as well have it invested in the Faqs plugin. Is that correct?
So I have had this theme for a very long time and
Right.
never touched a thing with it. So no, I do not have the Feast plugin.
So here's the thing, is for you to even get the Feast plugin to work, you're going to have to update your core. Your core is like 2.5 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So for us to even use the Feast plugin on your site, we would have to update the core and see how that goes. But just as I was mentioning earlier to Dee, you moving to the Feast plugin and doing absolutely nothing else but doing the optimizations, your traffic goes up, period. And I am seeing a significant amount of issues on your site that we can fix if we do that. The first thing is, again, the homepage. Did you see here that you don't even have a custom homepage title for your site?
I did not see that. But...
See that right there? Snacking and sneakers. We don't really need to rank for that though, do we? So what we need to do is we need to have a custom title on your site. What is it that your site is focused on? And that's something that we would really, kind of want to spend some time looking through. Is it healthier recipes? Is it, whatever? Maybe I usually try to craft a title for you. We could have done it live on the call, but this is just something to be aware of. We need to put a custom title on your site, preferably today. So think about that. What's your focus? Is it healthy recipes, fitness routines, triathlon training? We need to come up with a concise title that showcases all the awesome that's on your site, and it needs to be on your homepage.
Okay.
All right. That's the very first thing that we'd want to do on that site. Now, looking through that, I've also ran a lot of other options for you. I included a technical audit, and you did have kind of the same issues that we had on the previous audit clients. You have a lot of broken links. So if we go into tools and we go to broken links, look at the 400 plus broken links you have on your site. A lot of these are comment based. So with the comment ones, you basically just click right here, you click on link, and it's solved. See how it disappears?
Yep.
Some of these others though, you might go in and have to update the information. So like here's an upcoming event you had. A lot of your upcoming events are expired. So you might want to have to remove a lot of that. You can see that there's broken links there. But a lot of the issues are comment based. And the good thing about if you move to the Feast plugin is that you can actually remove the ability of anyone to leave links in your comments, which is going to eliminate 70% of your broken links from here to eternity.
Okay. So
that's a really good part of moving over to the Feast plugin is you can go in and we could one click make a lot of changes. But broken links, 404s, 503s, they're not a sign of low quality, but they're bad for users. You have users every day hitting these links. A lot of them. So we want to fix them all. We want to make sure that it's easy for Google to crawl, algorithmically score your content, and not hit all these broken links. I have also ran a technical audit which covers this in more detail. Do you see how there's 700 plus on this one?
Yep.
And there's a lot of them. So basically what happens here is that you had a PinSmart Pinterest course broken link here. See that? And you removed it from your site, and look at all the pages that there's still a link to that course. See that right there?
Yeah.
All the links in blue. And so it's just a matter of going in and removing the link whenever you can.
About that, because that, like, I know that link is not in any of those posts itself. It was originally like a category, or it was under like a shop tab.
Mm-hmm.
So that shop tab on the right had it there. It was originally under there. So is that why it's coming up? Because I know the link itself should not be in any of those posts.
Yeah, and you'd have to go down here and take a look, but I ran this on Saturday. So unless you made a change, it's there. So so here's a drive link right here. So there's probably a link.
That's just
the Pinterest course
plan. There shouldn't be any link to the Pinterest course. The link that you just went over was to the training plan. I did delete the Pinterest course very recently though, like in the last few days.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, we can take a look at this, but again, if this is usually pretty current here, but not a problem.
Okay.
Take a look at that. Also, look at the no meta descriptions on your site. Here's a full list of those.
Yeah, I'm sure there's
have that pop up. There's a significant amount. You see this? Look at all those.
Yeah.
You've got, not bad, 31 of them. Focus on the recipe content first, of course. Try to make sure that you fill those out. For those of you on the call, one of the fastest ways to see if you're missing meta descriptions is to go into tools, into Yoast. We go under Yoast, and we go into this thing called the bulk editor. You see that? There's the bulk editor. Then we go to description. This allows you to go through all of your site content to kind of see if you've missed meta descriptions on specific page. Like here's your Zumba Kids training one. Doesn't have a meta description there. And you can slowly go through this and take a look at all the content. Like here's the World Track, there's the Bermuda race. That's actually one of the ones I looked at. Yeah, that was a nice one. I like that one. I would go to Bermuda, but not necessarily to run a triathlon.
To do the triathlon.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, you can see here very quickly, there's some missing meta descriptions. It's fine. It's not going to kill you. If you don't fill out your meta descriptions, then understand that Google can fill those out for you, and that's never great for users. Going back over here, I mentioned a couple other issues. You have multiple H1s on a percentage of pages here.
Yeah, this was back from old stuff where I thought it was good to do and then realized it wasn't.
It's not going to kill you. Again, not a big deal. You just have two H1s here. I'd remove the second H1s, especially on the green bean quiche, if you're going to keep that updated and republish that. But you do have a lot of content that we're going to have to address. If we go here to the no organic traffic, kind of the same situation that we had earlier with other bloggers. This is everything on your site that is generating no clicks from Google in the last 120 days. So this is content that Google is saying, hey, look at all the ones with zeros. You see all these?
Yeah.
Now, again, it's okay, but you have to ask yourself, why is it that you look at all these recipes?
Yeah.
So like if we were to look at the stuffed strawberry French toast very quickly, this most likely has quality issues that we need to fix. And it's just a matter of like, you see how you started it with a huge photo up here?
Yeah.
We usually want to have teaser photos. You're not showing breadcrumbs. If I click on Chrissy Carroll here, do you see how it redirects me to your author page here instead of your About Me page?
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, we want to fix that. We'd also want to include your breadcrumbs here at the top. Breadcrumbs push link equity site-wide. We should always have breadcrumbs. But you start with a huge image up here, healthy French toast to fuel your fitness. Yeah, not a lot of expertise in this, and that's fine. It's just a matter of where we would have to republish this if you wanted to keep this.
Sure.
We'd have to add more information, whatever necessary needs to be done to get this going specifically. Same issue down here. You've no indexed your tag pages, but you're still linking to them site-wide. See that?
Yeah.
Literally, it's hilarious. But whenever we remove this stuff right here, just removing this site-wide, we recover a lot of internal link equity that flows back to other links on the page.
Okay, cool.
So it's a big deal. So kind of if we can get your theme updated and move it, you're also running trackbacks here. Do you see all these trackbacks? We want to delete all of these.
Yeah.
These are all expired. The best way to delete trackbacks is to run I didn't install it, but one of the things that you might want to run is let's go in here. We have a couple minutes here. We're going to go ahead and go here, and we're going to go to RBG Optimize. This is one of the best optimization plugins out there. Install database after deleting revisions. We're going to go ahead and click this activated. This is what I recommend for use on the call. For anyone on the call over WB Optimize, this is the much better plugin. So we go into settings here. And just when we talk about page speed, two of the things with regards to your WordPress install is what version of PHP are you running? Now, Chrissy, who are you hosting with?
Big Scoots.
Okay, so we know that you're running the most recent version, 7.3, 7.4, something like that. The next thing that involves your page speed is how small is your database? And that's where a database plugin comes into be. So we would go ahead and keep, say, a maximum of 5 revisions. We delete trashed items, spammed items, unused tags, expired transients, little pieces of code made when you publish posts, usually a lot by Jetpack, pingbacks and trackbacks, optimized database tables. And this is going to run monthly for you at, say, 2 in the morning. We click Save Changes. And we're just going to go ahead and go to the optimizer here. And if we just click on Analyze Detail, because you're on Big Scoots, this should complete very quickly. See how that was done?
Yeah.
Look at all this nonsense on your site that we need to delete. Look at all those pingbacks.
Yeah.
Look at all that. So we're going to click Optimize Detail, and we're just going to have this run while we're looking at other things.
Okay, cool.
So then we're going to come back over here. And when we're looking at your posts, a couple things that I want to bring to your attention here. Here's the sheet pan butternut squash notches that you had recently. You did some very good things on this. The problem is that the images are a little bit too small. If we go and we click Inspect Element on here, you made the max width on this image is only 1,000 pixels. The problem is that Google, for Discover purposes, they really want all the images to be 1,200 pixels wide.
Yeah, do you know if that's my theme? Because I thought I uploaded it at 1,200, but maybe I made a mistake on that one. I tried to do those first ones at 1,200. Do you know if that's my theme causing that?
Well, we can take a look here. If we go and we click on Edit Post, and we're going to go down here and take a look. Oops. Let's find that. first of all?
Featured image, I think.
So you're inserting, one of the things that you're doing that we definitely want to turn off. You're having your theme insert the featured image site-wide. We turn that off. We don't want that to happen.
Okay.
Instead, you should be inserting your featured image yourself after you've had some content at the top of the page. So you have this content at the top of the page, then we insert our featured image ourselves right here. You see this?
Perfect. Okay.
Your featured image is already built in your theme. It's right here. But what's happening with your theme is it's inserting featured images site-wide, and that can be changed, and we can talk about that off the call.
Sure.
But we want to remove all those featured images from showing at the top of your page. That makes sense now that I'm seeing this.
Okay.
We don't want to have this show at the top of the page site-wide. That hurts you. It pushes your content below the fold here. We don't necessarily need to do that.
Does it matter if the featured image is the same image then that you pull in for that first?
No, not at all. Not at all. As a matter of fact, that's the case with most posts, is that the featured image that you would be using here is also the featured image that we'd have at the top of the page.
Okay, perfect.
In many cases right there. So looking at this image here, let's take a look at this one, since that's one we have access to. See how you have full size right there?
Yeah.
So that means that you uploaded this image at 1,000 pixels wide.
Yeah, that one I know I did. I didn't realize all had to. I always do the featured at 12.
It's all good. I mean, if it's just the featured image, that's fine. But usually we find that for best success, in your case, very noticeable issues. You see how you're only at 2% for discovered traffic? And so the more of the images that we can upload to your site at 1,200 pixels wide, the better we're going to be able to do in getting this stuff moved.
Okay.
Now, why we're in here, and I know we're jumping around quite a bit, but I want to make sure that you see it. As with everyone on the call that has recipes, one of the fastest ways for you to increase your traffic, fill in your recipe metadata. You see all this?
Yeah.
So look at this, 127 without a rating, so that you're missing a rich snippet there. This is also a rich snippet, cook time. This is also a rich snippet, prep time, right here. See this, nutrition? This is also a rich snippet. So the more of this information we can fill out site-wide, we want to fill out all of our schema as much as we can. The videos, not so much. With videos, we really want to upload those to our ad company, take their link, and then insert those into our post, because that's faster.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so just an FYI on that. This is one of the fastest ways to build your traffic, is to fill in all of your schema as much as you can, generate those rich snippets, and go on. So with regards to this sheet pan nachos here, like you did, you've done a couple things really well here, but then you went down here to the recipe FAQs. Do you understand that because you didn't use FAQ schema, Google doesn't understand what these are?
So this is one of my questions for you. I've been stuck on Classic Editor on this site,
Right.
for a long time. Can I just switch over to Gutenberg so that I can use the Yoast FAQ schema block? Is it going to mess anything up just switching over immediately?
Not really, no, because you can move all of the individual posts one at a time.
Okay.
So it's just a matter of you going in, and I'm going to go over here to your appearance. Well, let me go to settings and writing. Let me get out of this post here. You see right here, default editor for all users, allow users to switch editors?
Yeah.
Yes. See that? Boom.
Okay.
So just by turning that on, we've now allowed you can actually go back one at a time and start converting each of your old recipes from the classic editor to the block editor.
Okay.
Really simple. And if we come over here to post, you now see that you have two options to do this. You see right here, everything is in the, well, you've got scheduled posts here, but let's go to published. Let's go to publish. And now you can see that everything is in the classic editor, but now you have the option to edit it in the block editor.
Okay.
See that?
Yes.
And you can go over and one at a time start converting these. But moving to the block editor for everyone on the call has to be done. Now, WordPress has said that they're going to stop support for the classic editor in December of this year. Usually they give you a little bit, they lag that a little bit, but moving to the block editor has a lot of SEO benefits. So I definitely urge all of you to consider doing it. Now, now this has ran. We're going to take a look at this.
Oh, okay, well, I think actually that was a really great pro tip to end on Chrissy's site too. I loved the advice about the featured snippets and making most use of all of your recipe tags. I'm obsessed with SERP features right now, so I think that's a really great opportunity to help boost traffic too. And the WordPress advice that Casey just gave too. I mean, that's just like the perfect place to switch over, gears and answer some of the questions in our live chat.
Yeah, and so yeah, Chrissy, just again, we'll stay in contact. I want to make sure that everyone on the call gets these Google Drive folders that will help you considerably. But when we talk about SEO, for everyone on the call and for our panelists, SEO is never one thing. It's all about the little things. So that's why we have an audit. That's why whenever you hear someone say audits are overrated or you don't need an audit, run immediately to the exit, because it makes absolutely no sense. I've had people who have been doing this million sessions a month bloggers, 5-10 million sessions a month blogger. They don't know what they don't know. And that's why the audits are so eye-opening. And even today, we only got into a very small percentage of the issues that exist. Even fixing a small version of those issues are going to result in a traffic increase. Enough of my rambling, Deanna.
No, that's a really good point. And I think that's why our industry, this SEO industry, why it depends is such a prominent phrase that we say a lot, because it is so multifaceted, because no website is the same, because you can all use the same WordPress theme. Your websites are so independent and have personalities. Like, it really does depend on a lot of different factors to see those changes and see those boosts. And it depends on a lot of the setup on what is going wrong in the back end and like what's preventing that momentum forward. So I think, yeah, Casey, you're absolutely right. It is not just one thing. So some really cool questions came in from the chat, and we're going to start with a dual question from two different people, but they relate to each other. And I'm really curious about this myself. So Heather and Floor ask, are there any benefits to deleting rather than no indexing? And how do you determine what should be deleted versus no indexed?
Well, again, the best way to do that is to kind of ask yourself what the intent of that content is. In many cases, if it's an expired giveaway, if it's a conference that you went to, if it's a recipe that doesn't fit into your niche, if it's a expired sponsored post, or if it's something that you look at and realize, you know what, this doesn't have any traffic on my site in months, there's no reason for it to be on my site, I don't see any traffic from Pinterest or third-party sites, we delete it and move on. We want to try to keep as much content as we can, but in some of the situations on the call today, there's too much content, and basically we can't see the path through the forest because of the trees. And so we need to pull, we need to pull the weeds from the content garden. We need to cut down the trees so we can see the path. We have a lot of information out
pruning,
there.
Right? Content pruning.
Yeah, that's why we call it content pruning.
With your tree analogy.
The only time we're going to be no indexing something is if we can determine that it's getting traffic from Pinterest or another non-Google channel, or because we want to keep the photos for our own personal reason, or because maybe this is content that I can repurpose in an ebook, or I can share with my email subscribers, or that I want to have access to so that the link stays there and I can share that out for other reasons.
Very cool. All right, great. So next question from Legally Healthy Blonde wants to know, can you repeat the 3 legs of the chair again? So it was like what we were talking about at the very beginning of the session.
So think of your site as a chair with 3 legs. Leg number 1 is the technical issues. Technical issues by far where most bloggers struggle. You have internal redirects, you have missing meta descriptions, you haven't filled out your schema, you're using a poor host, you haven't dialed in your core web vitals. There runs a gamut, and that's why, especially myself as a forensic auditor, I want to focus on that specifically when we're having an audit. Very important. Leg number 2 is the content. We really, unfortunately, didn't get into chance to go over a kind of an optimal content template. But for those of you on the call, I have covered optimal content templates in dozens of other resources out there. Go to any of the SEO for Publishers webinars. We talk about it in length. Take a look at some of the, Hilda's site that we looked at today. She does a very good job. There's a great template there. And then we didn't talk about it today as well, but category pages are also part of content. We want to go in and optimize those category pages as much as we can. We want to interlink all the content. All that goes together. And then leg number 3 are the offsite factors that go into your success as a blogger. It's the things like your linking root domains. It's the things like your earned expertise as an author. How many other people link to you internally? How many people view you as an expert? Have you put yourself out there for interviews and podcasts? All of that. Size of your email list, that would all be under leg number 3.
Yeah, and that's like the holistic part of all of this. And that's
Exactly.
you especially in this kind of niche where the food industry and people who love cooking and food are so communicative and engaging. Like, you want to make sure that you're engaging with them, not just on the blog, through their email, through the other means too. So also really, really great recap, Casey. Okay, so this question I'm also really super excited to ask you because I'm curious too. And it comes from Tania, I believe is her name. Can you please share an outline of what a recipe blog post structure should look like? So tying right into what you were just saying, we didn't get too much of a chance to talk about content. So here we go.
Yeah, so we usually have teaser text at the top of the page to sell the user on why this recipe is so awesome. I always advise that if you have a recipe that can be made in less than 30 minutes, we always say that at the top, especially because you're trying to qualify for the user on a mobile device. Whenever we've done, studies, whenever we've done live chats, or we've done focus groups, and using something like user testing, one of the questions we put is what sells the recipe at the top of the page for you. Timing elements always come up. So if something can be made in less than 30 minutes, we always want to say that. Then we have a nice featured image, 1200 pixels wide, preferably, good alt text, descriptive, but doesn't necessarily just repeat the keyword. Then our next section might be an H2, why this recipe works. This is where you just basically tell the user, here's why this recipe is better than the million of other recipes out there. The next section might have to do with ingredients. I recommend a full labeled photo of the ingredients whenever possible. Toddlers and drunk adults, people like to walk through the store and look on their phone, and they could just pull and grab what they need. Then we can talk a little bit about the ingredients. We don't necessarily need to list them all. That's what the recipe card is for. Show your expertise. Talk a little bit about the ingredients there. Our next section, step-by-step photos. Process shot, process shot, process shot. You can use collages. You can use side-by-side photos, whatever you want to do. Show the user how to make this. After you've done that, then the next section is maybe expert tips and FAQs. After you've shown the user how to make your recipe, you're telling the user how to do it perfectly. Okay, you're the expert. You want to communicate anything in there on the step-by-steps will allow you to make sure that they've got this down the first time. After that, maybe there's another photo of the finished dish. Maybe there's a related recipe section. Maybe there's a call to action about the recipe card. Then we have a fully enhanced recipe card, and recipe card notes are very important. You want to take the most important information from the post and repeat it in a card, okay? Some people will just come from Pinterest or other places and they'll just print out your recipe card. You want to make sure that it's complete. So if they take that recipe card out, they have all the information they need to make this recipe perfectly. Now, that doesn't mean that you take every tip or every FAQ from your recipe post and put in your recipe card. That's not what I'm saying. You have to understand what users need most importantly and summarize that and put it in your card accordingly.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And thinking about the purpose of this page, the purpose of this blog post, right, is to talk about this story, to showcase your expertise. You've been saying that a lot today, and I think that's really important. And that's honestly, I have never looked at a food recipe blog post through those eyes before, showcasing expertise, but I absolutely read them for the tips and why you use this kind of butter versus this kind of butter, for that kind of insight. But I never really, I just hadn't really thought about it like that. So
the recipe niche is by
way to think about it.
I cannot stress this enough. I have the utmost respect for everyone on this call. For all of you who are recipe and lifestyle bloggers, you are in the most competitive niche, bar none, of any SEO niche out there. Anyone who says differently doesn't know what they're talking about. Google pushes out a lot of the schema and content changes first for the recipe niche because it's so widespread, sees how it works, and then it rolls it out to other niches. And there has never been more recipe blogs than there has at this point in time. I mean, I believe that when I came on the scheme in about 2015 to now, there's about 300 to 400% more recipe blogs. It's crazy. It's substantially more competitive.
Yeah. So with that too, it makes me wonder about, because you like you were just mentioning, creating the graphics, the labeled images, and the step-by-steps.
Yeah.
What element of shareability plays into that? Like, should we be making our photos like easily shareable on Pinterest and Instagram? Should we be including TikTok videos? And because that's the second most common place I get my recipes from, is I see them on TikTok because they are the preparation videos. Where does like social media kind of play into recipe blog posts?
Well, social media is fine. It's just that when you start loading the recipe posts with all these addendums, it slows the crap out of the post, and then you've lost your highest provider of traffic, which is your organic channel. Like, we can't embed a TikTok video. We would never do that because, again, it would destroy the core web vitals on the page. Page would not load well. You know, it's fine. Social media is great. You have social sharing buttons on posts. You hide pins in your posts so that you can optimize for Pinterest as much as you can. But our goal is always Google first, because that's where you're going to make the most money. That's where it's going to be your highest traffic channel, is always Google first. And I know many of you know the travesties and the travails that have happened with Pinterest over the last year. We've had bloggers come to me losing in as much as 80% of their traffic, and we've been able to replace that with Google. And that's what it should be, is that you can never rely on these third-party platforms for traffic, whether it's Instagram, TikTok, or Pinterest.
Interesting. All right. So eye on the prize, right? All right. So our last question, and this one came up a couple of times in the chat, so I wanted you to cover it. A lot of folks are really interested in the report that you've been pulling for the other marketers around the URLs that aren't generating any traffic. Can you walk us through how you were pulling that?
Yeah, guys, that's all from Google Search Console. So all you got to do is go to Google Search Console. You're going to sort by URL. You're going to go over and you're going to say, okay, for the last 120 days, I want to see all the traffic on the 1,000 plus URLs that Google Search Console tracks for me. You're going to have a full report. Then you're going to go over to the right-hand side and you're going to invert that. And you'll be able to see all the pages on your site that have 0 clicks. You can also export that out. You can filter it. You can do whatever you want. But the problem with Google Search Console is that it only gives you about 1,000 URLs. You can actually connect to the API through various things like SEMrush. I believe now it's what, SEMrush? How are you pronouncing it now, Diana? SEMrush? Is that how you're pronouncing it now?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And you can actually pull more than 1,000 pages in that aspect. I have multiple tools that allow me to pull up to 2,000 pages, which was more than enough for everyone on this call. But yeah, go into your Search Console, sort by page, and then sort by traffic over an indeterminate amount of time, and you can actually see everything that's not doing well for you. You can sort it by impressions, sort it by clicks. You can do whatever you want.
Awesome. Okay. Well, that was, I think, the most actionable, tactile, fastest hour and a half Monday that I've had in a really long time. So thank you for the incredible just conversation and engaging questions. I mean, these site owners just had amazing websites to share with us. I'm really hungry for lunch now, by the way. But thank you. So thank you, Amy, Christy, Dia, and Lindsay for, again, as Casey has said, volunteering and being so vulnerable, for showcasing everything that you've been working so hard on today. We wish you guys all of the best with your websites and your future SEO endeavors. And of course, an amazing thank you to the incredible Casey for being here with us and doing all of that homework and putting all of that action plan together for everybody. That was
I tell you,
amazing.
I wish my wife and kids were as enthusiastic as you are giving me these introductions. So I want to thank you all for, again, making the time. I know that we weren't able to answer all the questions here. Try to put them in the comments and we'll get to those. And ladies, again, I wish you the very best. Thanks for volunteering your sites, and I'll be in touch this week with more information for each of you.
Yeah, the conversation doesn't have to end here at all. So Casey, where can people find you if they want to get in touch, want to learn from you some more?
You can find me on Twitter at Media Wyse. That's MEDIAWYSE, Media Wyse, or you can find me on Facebook. I'm in the Food Blogger Central group. I try to answer questions there whenever I can. Find me online, MediaWyse.com, and that's it. I'm not easy. I don't hide, so I'm easy to find.
And you have a very interesting last name, so I'm sure if you Google your name, you come up pretty easily as well.
Yeah, I've literally eliminated all other Casey Markees in the world. I dominate.
Oh, Jason Barnard would be very proud of you.
Yes, very important.
And we had a couple of people asking, like, how can they have their sites evaluated? Again, Casey's open to doing that. He can, but we do these SEO consultation webinars pretty frequently here at SEMrush. So just keep an eye on our social media and our webinar page on our website for what is coming up next. And that is a wrap. Thank you to everyone who attended. Thank you for everyone on the call. We want to wish you and your families and hope everyone is staying happy and healthy from all of us here at SEMrush. And we'll see you next time. Happy Monday, everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you guys.
Bye.
Bye.